Hi, my name is Cheryl, and welcome to another video part of the Ask a Financial Counselor series presented by the Greenville County Library System in conjunction with the Financial Empowerment Center. Today we're going to be talking about budgets and why you really need one. So the first thing we need to discuss is what is a budget? Simply, a budget is a plan for your money. Rather than getting to the end of the month and trying to figure out where all of your money went, you're going to plan in advance where you want to spend your money. You're making choices before you go out. You're not going to live off of impulses, but rather making choices in advance. You are in control rather than your wallet being in control. It gives a little bit of accountability, especially if you're doing this with someone else, because if you say that you want to only spend $50 a month on eating out, then that other person or the budget itself can hold you accountable to that amount that you agreed to. Now, I want to show you two scenarios. You may fit into one of these. We have Mr. Mo Money, who has an income of $3,000. He has $1,500 worth of bills, and he spends about $500 on groceries and gas and other essential things that he needs. But at the end of the month, he still has zero in his account, which means that somehow he spent $1,000, but he's not really sure where that money went. And then we also have Mrs. I'm a Broke, who has the same income. She has more bills. She's $2,500 worth of bills, and she spends $500 on groceries and gas and other essentials. And she also has zero at the end of the month. And the problem there is that she just feels like she can never get ahead. She knows where her money's going, but it's all being used. So this is a guideline for how much you should be spending. Obviously, this is an average. This doesn't necessarily mean that this would fit for your family, but it's a way to start. So this 50-30-20 rule is that 50% of your budget should be things that you need, 20% should be towards savings, and 30% should be towards wants. The problem with most Americans is that the 20% towards savings doesn't happen. And if we're not saving money, then we're going to constantly be put in a situation when emergencies arise that we're either putting money onto credit cards in order to pay for things, or we just feel like we can never get ahead because we're always trying to play catch up. Now, the first thing to do with a budget is to sit down and track your expenses. This is going to take some time, but for most people, this is pretty eye-opening. Many times we think we spend money in certain areas and we don't realize how much it actually adds up. So what you want to do is to pull out your bank statement, your transaction list, and see actually where your money is going. Grab a piece of paper and a pencil and make some categories. So you want to look at how much are you spending in each one of these categories. So write down every single bill. What do you pay every month for cable? What do you pay for your rent or your mortgage, your electric bill? And then go down, and anytime you are spending money on groceries or household items, put all those in the same column. Now, I put these two together because honestly, if I go to Walmart, I buy a combination of household items and groceries. So it's hard for me to separate those two from each other. So I would recommend just putting them together. Then make a column for eating out. Now, I would include any time you are buying food that is not from the grocery store. So if you stop at the gas station at QT and you pick up a drink, I consider that dining out. If you get food from the vending machine, put that in dining out. And then we have some other categories like entertainment, gas, grooming, like hair care, personal care. Put all of those things in categories and then add them up. How much are you spending in each one of those categories? So as you add up all of those columns, hopefully you may see that you are spending money more than you thought you were. For many folks, especially that dining out is an area that really hurts them, and they don't realize how many of those little stops they're making to pick up something, the impulse buys that they're making. So I just want to show you how some of those little expenses can add up over time. So let's say that you stop at the vending machine every day at work, $3, not much money. but that actually adds up to $780 a year, about $65 a month in just those little impulse chips, crackers, a drink here or there at that vending machine. Now, if you were going to stop at the QT and get drinks and snacks at the gas station twice a week, over $1,000 a year, $87 a month. Those QTs and Spinks gas stations, those are impulse buys. Probably you're within 15 minutes of home. You could wait till you get there. So do you really need that? $1,000, wow, that's a lot of money. And then finally, eating out. If you went twice a week and you spent $25 twice a week, that adds up to a whopping $2,600 a year. What could you be doing with $2,600 a year? So really look at those expenses. A lot of people, they want to buy a home, they want to get a new car. It's right here. It's those little things that are adding up. And when we don't have a budget, we're not paying attention to those little things. They're going to catch up to us. So the next step after you track your expenses and see where your money has been going is for you to actually decide, what do you want to spend? What are your limits for the future? So it may be, where can you trim? If you're spending $100 right now on eating out in the month, maybe you should trim it back to $75. I wouldn't recommend going cold turkey and trimming it to zero. That's going to be hard. So where can you gradually pull back a little bit so you can save yourself a little bit extra money? Also, can you decrease your bills? So many people are paying for cable that they don't use. They have cable and Hulu and Netflix and Prime. Well, can you trim some of those? Can you get rid of the cable, which tends to be the more expensive option, and just live on Hulu? Where can you trim some of those? Can you change your cell phone plan to a cheaper plan? Do you need to be paying for that expensive phone? Where can you look at places to bring back a little bit of your money? Now, I want to point out that changing habits takes time, and you have to be determined to do it. It's going to be hard. It's like a diet. When you go out, there are restaurants all over the place going, oh, stop here, get a sandwich, you're hungry. You're going to have to look at ways to change your habits so that you're not driven by those impulses, and instead you're driven by the choices that you make in advance. One way to do that, to kind of keep you focused, is to know what your goal is. Do you want to plan to buy a home? Obviously, you need to build up your savings for that. Do you need to buy a car? Do you just want to build up an emergency savings fund? Keep that goal in mind, because that's going to help you make it easier to make good choices. And finally, make sure to make room for saving. Try to do that 20% saving. Start small. If you can't do that, just start with $10, $25, whatever you can to put into savings. That's going to help you in the long run. Now, once you have your budget, it's important to do regular checkups. You can't just make a budget and leave it alone. Regularly track your money, track your expenses. How are you doing? Are you matching up? If you chose to spend $100 a month on eating out, are you actually doing that? Are you spending less than that? Can you adjust your budget? Can you adjust in an area? So if you're still having trouble with overspending in one area, is there another area where you can trim back in order to make up some of that difference? And what can you do to hold yourself accountable? So if you have a spouse, then it's really good to be doing this together. If you're single, do you have a friend that you could talk to about it and say, hey, I'm really trying to get my finances in order and I need your help. Can you help me when, I'm starting to go for the vending machine, to say, hey, do you really need to do that? Or can you help me that instead of going out to eat, can we, meet together at each other's houses and just do something that's a little bit a cheaper option? Now, there are some pitfalls for budgets that I want you to be aware of, things that I personally have done in the past and that I see a lot of people also doing, is you can't just budget for bills and not variable expenses. So you have to be realistic about how much you're going to be spending on groceries and on gas. You can't just say, well, I've got my rent and I've got my electric and my credit card bills. there's more to life than that. You need to go ahead and plan in those other things that change from month to month that aren't necessarily a bill that have a due date. You also need to make sure to plan for irregular expenses. So there are certain times of year that your expenses are going to be higher. People tend to spend more at Christmas. You need to go ahead and put that in your budget so that you're prepared for it. If you know you have a birthday coming up and you typically spend $50 or $100 on that person's on their birthday, you need to put that in your budget. You can't just ignore it. You're going to spend that money. Plan for it in advance. But that may also mean that that month you need to trim in another area to make up that money. And another big pitfall is when people don't start saving and putting money aside for emergencies. Things are going to come up. You're going to need new tires. You're going to need to buy clothing. There are things that you're going to need. And when you don't have money put aside for it, those things become an emergency when in fact they are not. They are something that you could have planned for. And finally, not planning for the future. Looking ahead and what are you going to, if you're planning on buying a house or you're going to need a new car, go ahead and plan for those things. And then finally, making a budget and then walking away from it and never changing it. For me, I personally modify my budget every single month. I've gotten to the point where I don't have to do it very often. I don't have to change it all that much, but there are certain months that I know I'm going to need to put different expenses in. So constantly going back and looking at your budget and seeing where you need to modify it. We have a lot of different resources at the Department of Human Relations that we can help you with. We can help you with reverse mortgage counseling, foreclosure prevention. If you're renting and you're having problems with your landlord, we can help you with that. We can help you with discrimination issues. We have a home buyer education course that we put on once a month. And then we also can help with those who are homeless to get you quickly back into housing. Now, we would love to help you at the Greenville Financial Empowerment Center. Our sessions are about an hour long and they are free to you because we are grant funded. So you're welcome to call the number on the screen or to book an appointment at greenvillefec.com, and we can make a tailor-made budget for you and we can walk alongside you and help with that accountability if that is what you need. So thanks for listening today, and we hope to hear from you.